Good evening, students. Today we are trying to discuss about IAR filter design. So, what is IAR filter then? We know that what do you mean by filter? Filter means which allows the certain frequency and it rejects some frequency, right? So, IAR means impulse invariant response, and we are going to design that filter today. So, there are different types of filters are present. IAR filters are present. One is Butterworth filter, and one is Chebyshev filter, and one is elliptical filter. We'll discuss one by one. Before discussing elliptical, analog, and Butterworth filter, Chebyshev and Butterworth filter, let's see how to design the digital IAR filter by using analog filter. So before discussing about that, let's see what is the difference equation of IAR filter. This is a difference equation, that is y of n which is equal to summation k which is equal to 1 to n ak into y of n minus k plus summation k which is equal to 1 to n ak into x of n minus k. Then the transfer function is nothing but it's the ratio of output to the input, and this is in digital domain, that is it is in a frequency domain now, that is h of z which is equal to y of z divided by x of z which is equal to summation of k which is equal to 0 to m dk z power minus k divided by 1 plus summation of k which is equal to 1 to m ak into z power minus k. This is in frequency domain, right? That is in it shows a transfer function of a digital filter. So if I want to have a transfer function of analog filter means it must be have HA of s, so that is equal to AK or A of s divided by B of s, where A of s is a polynomial, numerator polynomial, and B of s is a denominator polynomial. Then A of s is nothing but summation k which is equal to 0 to m dk into s power k, and which is divided by summation of k which is equal to 0 to n ak into s power k, where denominator term always represent a number of poles of a transfer function and numerator term represent a number of zeros of a transfer function. And here we are trying to analyze the stability of a system. So by using a transfer function, what we are trying to do, we are trying to map the analog filter, that is S plane to Z plane. Means from analog to digital we are trying to map the values. To give an infinite impulse response, a filter must be a incorporate feedback, that is n not equal to 0, m not equal to 0. I already told we are trying to map S plane to Z plane. Means if I have a pole line right half of the S plane, left half of the S plane, means it must be mapped to left half of a Z plane. If its poles are present in a right half of the S plane, means those poles must be mapped onto a right half of the Z plane only. So one-to-one mapping will happen here. Then and if poles are present in the left half of the S-plane, the system is completely stable system. If I want to design a filter, we need to follow some steps here. That is, one is a specification. If I want to design a filter means first I need to know about specification of a filter. So what is the problem or application specification? Then approximation of a specification with a discrete time system. We already know about what is discrete time system here. Then our focus is going to from specification to discrete time system. Then we are trying to implement that one. That is implementation, realization of a discrete time system depends on a target technology. Which technology we are going to use, depending on that we are trying to implement a filter. And in order to design a filter, we have a different techniques called, one is an impulse invariant technique, another one is bilinear transformation technique, another one is a matched Z transform filter or a matched Z transformation we can also call it. So why we'll go with this analog digital filter design by using the analog filter design means, if I try to design a digital filter directly means it takes more time and it need a more manpower. So in order to avoid that, what we'll do, we'll try to design a filter by using the analog filter first. Then later on what we'll do, by designing an analog filter, and we can convert that analog filter to a digital filter by performing a sampling operation, and we can convert the analog filter to digital filter by representing the Z domain. So that is easy. Then the first method is, in order to design a filter by using impulse invariant technique. So that is, in this design method we want a digital filter impulse response to look similar to the frequency selective analog filter. So we sample h of t. See here, we have considered the impulse response as h of t, and we are trying to sample at t which is equal to nt, and if I perform a sampling operation we will get ha of nt. We have discussed about this one in the very beginning class in the first unit. So ha of nt which is equal to, where nt which is equal to n means the samples will get, that is represented by ha of n. So we can write h of n, that is the impulse response in discrete time, so that must be equal to ha of nt. A means a represent here, it is in the analog form. So next, the transfer function of this one is ha of s which is equal to summation k which is equal to 1 to n ck divided by s minus pk, where numerator represent the constant term. I already told the transfer function must have numerator and denominator polynomial. Here the numerator polynomial represent a zeros and denominator polynomial represent a poles of a system. And see here they consider simply a constant term here. Constant term means zeros are present but at infinity, and we have a defined we know the real pole here, that is s minus pk. Then let's see, if I take the inverse Laplace transform for this, will get time domain expression, right? Here we have ha of s. If I take inverse Laplace transform for this, it becomes ha of t. Then the summation that won't change, that is this one is a constant, 1 divided by s minus pk. The Laplace transform for this is e power pk into t, where h of n is nothing but h of ha of nt, right? So I can replace this t by pk into nt. So there is no problem, because this samples are sampled at an interval of n into t, right? So this t is nothing but n into t. So t can be replaced by n into t here. Then next what we have h of z means, once I represent a transfer function, once I take a inverse Laplace transform for this, what is the next step? We have performed a sampling. So once perform a sampling means you need to represent in a z domain now. So the z transform expression is, definition is h of z which is equal to summation n which is equal to 0 to infinity h of n into z power minus n. This is a z transform definition. So we know that what is h of n from the previous expression, that is summation k which is equal to 1 to n ck into pk e power pk into nt, right? So next, summation n which is equal to 0 to n ck summation n which is equal to 0 to infinity e power pk into t into z power minus 1 whole power n. So it is in the form of this one. This is a standard form. I'll try to compare it with this one. So if I compare this one, we can return this one expression as ck divided by 1 minus e power pk into t into z power minus 1. So this is a transfer function in z domain, and this one is a transfer function in s domain, right? So I'll try to compare these two expressions here. So here we have a limit as the same, here also we have a limit is same. So here we have ck into 1 divided by s minus pk. Here also we have numerator term as it is, but denominator term has been changed, right? So in place of 1 divided by s minus pk, we have 1 divided by e power pk into z inverse. So if I have the poles in this form in the given equation, then what I need to do, we need to replace it by 1 divided by 1 minus e power pk into t into z inverse. So in order to simplify the design here, and let's see the one example for this. So the example is, the system function of the analog filter is given as ha of s into s plus 0.1 divided by s plus 0.1 whole square plus 9. Obtain the system function of the IAR digital filter by using impulse invariant method. So first what we need to do, we need to identify the number of poles, which are the poles we have. So the first, here we have two poles here. The one pole is at minus 0.1 plus j3, another one pole is at minus 1 minus j3, and ha of s, that is a transfer function, we can rewritten as s plus 0.1 divided by s plus 0.1 minus minus j3 into s plus 0.1 plus j3. And what I need to do, I need to represent this equation in the form of continued product of a poles, that is a1 plus a2. If it's in the form of a divided by s plus s minus pk, I can easily replace that s minus pk by 1 minus e power pk into t into z inverse, right? So I need to make this term in that form. So in order to make this form in that form, what I need to do, we need to perform a partial fraction method here. So the partial fraction is here we have two distinct roots. So two distinct means we have a two residues here, a1 divided by s plus 0.1 minus j3 plus a2 divided by s plus 0.1 plus j3. Then if I try to find out what are the residues for the values a1 and a2, will get 1 by 2 for the both the cases. So HA of s, which is rewritten as 1 by 2 divided by s plus 0.1 minus j3 plus 1 by 2 s plus 0.1 plus j3. So now if I apply impulse invariant technique for this analog transfer function, so we'll get 1 divided by s minus pk must be replaced by 1 minus e power pk into t into z power minus 1, right? So see here, it is in the form of this one, s minus pk. So h of z becomes, so it is in the form of s. If I take a minus as a common factor here, remaining one is minus 0.1 minus j3. So because we have pk, right, the pk value is minus 0.1 t plus j3t into z inverse, and the second one will be the same again, 1 minus e power minus 0.1 t minus j3t z inverse. Again, if I take a LCM, further if I take a LCM, if I simplify this one, we'll get this expression, that is h of z, which is equal to 1 minus e power minus 0.1 t into cos 3t into z inverse divided by 1 minus 2 into e power minus 0.1 t cos 3t into z inverse plus e power minus 0.2 t into z inverse. So this is the final expression. If they mentioned a t value, take a t value here, and again you need to do a simplification of this one further. And the next technique is filter design by bilinear transformation technique. So that is, this is in case of impulse invariant technique, what will happen, we can apply the impulse invariant technique for only low frequency filters. We can't go further. Means if I have a multiple roots, so then simplification will be more complicated. So in order to overcome that, we'll go with a bilinear transformation. Why we'll call it as a bilinear transformation means we have numerator as a linear transform and denominator is also a linear transform. So hence the name is bilinear transformation here. So see here, so S can be represented as 2 by t into 1 minus z inverse divided by 1 plus z inverse. So the transform system function, that is h of z, can be rewritten as h of 2 divided by t into 1 minus z inverse divided by 1 plus z inverse. Again that t cancel out, so we can ignore it. So if I try to solve z for this, we'll get 1 plus t by 2 into s, 1 minus t by 2 into s. So if I replace s by sigma plus j omega, if I try to multiply it for this, so we'll get 1 plus sigma t divided by 2 plus j sigma t if I take a complex conjugate, and again if I simplify this one, so we'll get the expression. And let's see how to map this S plane to the unit circle in Z plane. So if I want to map this S plane to the Z plane, what will happen here? See how if the roots are present in left of the S plane in S plane, left of the S plane, then those roots must be mapped inside the unit circle in Z plane. So next, if the roots are present on the j omega axis, then it must be present on the circle in Z plane. If the roots are present in right of the S plane, then the roots must be present in outside of a circle. So if the roots are present in left of the S plane in case of S plane, inside the circle in Z plane, then the system is completely stable system. On the imaginary axis, here on the circle, again marginally stable, we can say that. And if the roots are present in right of the S plane, means out of the circle the system becomes unstable system. This is a mapping of bilinear transformation. So next, if we are trying to map this on a on the unit circle of a z plane, then z can be represented as 1 plus j omega td divided by 2, 1 minus j omega td by 2, we can represent as e power j omega. Next, to derive the relationship between omega and omega, what is this omega and this omega? This is analog frequency, this is digital frequency. This is capital omega, this is small omega. So SV is nothing but 2 by t, 1 minus e power minus j omega divided by 1 plus e power minus j omega. J omega is nothing but 2 by t, e power minus j omega 2, j sin omega 2, omega by 2, 2 into e power minus j omega 2 cos omega by 2. So it becomes 2j divided by t tan omega by 2 will get. This j gets cancelled. Then omega is nothing but 2 by t tan omega by 2. Means if I know the omega value, that is digital frequency, I can easily find out what is analog frequency. If I know the analog frequency, I can also find out what is a digital frequency here by using this one. Arc tan is nothing but tan inverse. So that is omega is nothing but 2 into omega t, 2 into tan inverse of omega t divided by 2. And see here what happens in case of bilinear transformation. In case of impulse invariant technique, there is a frequency aliasing is present, but in case of bilinear transformation, there is no aliasing. That is one of the advantages of a bilinear transformation. And again, in case what is the disadvantages of a bilinear transformation means it tries to perform the frequency wrapping. Frequency wrapping means in the previous case, see here the frequency which is present from 0 to infinity, but what will happen if I apply a bilinear transformation, it tries to compress the frequency from 0 to infinity to 0 to pi. So this one we can call it as frequency wrapping. So while designing a system, we need to take care of frequency wrapping. Warping we can also call it as, wrapping we can also call. So the frequency wrapping, so non-frequency wrapping technique we need to use in order to avoid this one. Then the next method we have, that is matched Z transform method. So matched Z transform method means, so which is same as an impulse invariant method. In case of impulse invariant, we will use only a poles, but in case of here, we will use both the poles and zeros. So the poles, the transfer function for this h of s, which is equal to summation k, which is equal to 1 to n, s minus zk divided by summation k, which is equal to 1 to n, s minus pk. So if I use a matched Z transform means it becomes 1 minus e power zk into t into z inverse divided by summation k, which is equal to 1 to n into 1 minus e power k into t z inverse. So this is our matched Z transform, so which is similar to the impulse invariant technique. The only the difference is here we will have both poles and zeros, but in case of over there we will have only a poles. But in case of here, poles and zeros are transformed according to zk is nothing but e power zk into t, pk is e power pk into t. So where t is sampling period, poles using this method are similar to the impulse invariant method. I already told, zeros are located at a new position now. And again this method is also here suffers from aliasing problem. So the aliasing which is avoided in only one technique, that is bilinear transformation technique. Then next what we have IAR filter. Means I already told, if I have a transfer function of a system, if I want to design a system, first what we need to do, we need to have the analog filter first. Under analog filter also we'll try to design the low pass filter. And see how first we'll try to design the IAR filter in analog form, and we'll try to convert this analog filter into a digital filter by performing a transformation. So first we'll try to design the low pass filter first. Later on we'll try to implement a higher order systems by performing the transformation. So see here, the next thing what we have in analog IAR filter, what we have three important filters we have in case of IAR filters. One is a Butterworth filter, another one is a Chebyshev filter, another one is an elliptic filter. These two are most important filters, means it has a more application compared to this elliptic filter. So why we are not using the elliptic filter means elliptic filter needs mathematical in an elliptical filter, mathematical operation is difficult. So hence we won't use an elliptic filter. We will go with a Butterworth and Chebyshev filter. So if I use a Butterworth filter, let's see how to design a Butterworth filter. First, let's see the characteristic of a filter first. So we'll try to consider all pole low pass filter first. So all pole means in this system there is a zeros also present, but what we are trying to do, we are trying to assume the zeros are present at infinity, and the transfer function can be expressed as constant divided by s power n plus an minus 1 into s power n minus 1 plus till a1 into s plus a0. So in the next case, the constant can be represented as a which is divided by d by s. And see here, this is a response of a low pass filter. And in case of here, if I consider ideal low pass filter response, we would have only this much response, right? Ideal low pass filter. I think you would have studied in electronics. So this is a ideal low pass filter response means this from here to here it is pass band, from here to this onwards it is stop band, right? Pass band means it tries to allow the frequency from here to here, from here to here it stops, it try to rejects the signal from this frequency onwards. Is it correct? So this is pass band, this is a stop band now. So here what we are trying to represent, this is a constant term, this is a denominator polynomial we are trying to represent here. And this is a filter response, this is magnitude response of a filter. So that is represented as h of omega we can also consider, or magnitude of h of j omega whole square we can also consider. And see here, and this is one means this is ideal low pass filter response, and this one is pass band frequency, this is stop band frequency, this is pass band attenuation, stop band attenuation, this is pass band attenuation. We can also call this one as tolerance, this one also tolerance, stop band tolerance, pass band tolerance. We can also represent this one instead of delta P and delta S, we can also use it as a AP and AS. What is this attenuation here means? If I consider a low pass filter, so ideal low pass filter response, this is a response we would have, right? So if I try to design a filter, what will happen? The response may be come like this. The response may be come like this. So from here to here there is a difference, right? There is a attenuation. So that is called pass band attenuation. Here also we would have attenuation here. So that is called stop band attenuation. So let's see the Butterworth filter design now. So this is a magnitude response, that is a transfer function of Butterworth filter. So that is represented as magnitude of h of j omega whole square, which is equal to 1 divided by 1 plus omega divided by omega c whole power 2n. So what will happen here if I try to consider this n is nothing but this is the order of the filter, this omega c is nothing but cutoff frequency, minus 3 dB cutoff frequency we can call. If this omega value which is equal to cutoff frequency, then the magnitude response of a Butterworth filter, magnitude frequency response of a Butterworth filter is 1 by 2 irrespective of a value of n. If I vary n value again and again, it won't change the value, right? So because this one and this one gets cancelled each other, so if I vary the n value, it doesn't affect. So the magnitude response of the Butterworth filter is 1 by 2 irrespective of n. These are all the conclusion for this magnitude response of a magnitude frequency response of Butterworth filter. The first conclusion is, if I take omega value which is equal to omega c, then the magnitude response value will be 1 by 2 irrespective of n value. The second conclusion is, what will happen if I try to increase the omega value as an infinity. So see here, over there we have used a square, magnitude square. Here I'll try to use a magnitude h of j omega, magnitude of h of j omega, which is equal to 1 divided by square root of 1 plus omega divided by omega c whole power 2n. If I take a square root on both sides, we'll get this expression. If I increase omega value towards infinity, then h of omega, it becomes, means this omega by omega c which is very much greater than 1, which indicates that if very much greater than 1 means I can neglect this one. Then if I take omega by omega c whole power 2n whole power 1 by 2, so 2 gets cancelled. If I take it to the numerator, it becomes omega by omega c into minus n. Then the next one is, if I try to differentiate this one, or if I try to expand this one by using a power series, it becomes 1 minus 1 by 2 omega by omega c whole power 2n plus higher power of omega by omega c whole power 2n. So this is, if I differentiate this one with respect to omega, will at omega which is equal to 0 will get 0 always for I varies from 1 to 2n minus 1. This is another one conclusion. So if I increase omega value till infinity, I already told, will get 20 log base 10 of HA of omega tends to minus 20 n log of 10 omega by omega c. Means what it indicates, the asymptotic slope will decreased minus 20 n dB per decade, or approximately you can write it as minus 6 n dB per octave. And see here, the response at this particular point, what will happen, which is monotonically decreases, and maximally flattened response we can also call that response as. And the next conclusion is, if I increase the n value, see here, this is the response of n, for example, this is the response of n which is equal to 1, this is the response of n which is equal to 3, and this is the response of n which is equal to 5. Then what will happen, if n goes on increases, then the response will be near to the ideal response of a filter. So if n increases, means the stop band frequency will get decreases, means the error will be decreases. N increases, the error will be decreases. But we won't go to the higher order filter design, because if I choose a higher order, means it requires a more element, the design will be complex, and it requires a more time, and it need a more cost also. And the next one, so the next conclusion is, we left out with one more conclusion here. The first conclusion is what we have discussed. The first conclusion is, if I consider omega value as omega c, then the value will be 1 by 2 irrespective value of 1, right? So if I increase the omega value, then what will happen, this magnitude response will be decreases monotonically. This omega is increased, means the magnitude response will be decreased monotonically. That is one of the conclusion again. And another one conclusion what we have discussed. So if I take power series expansion here, so if I differentiate with respect to omega and take omega value 0, we'll get 0 for all the values of omega. Then this approximation we can call it as maximally flat approximation. And the next one is, if I take a magnitude response, that is omega which is very much lesser than omega c, then we'll have 1 by 1. So 1 by 1 means irrespective value of n again, so it becomes a 0 dB value. Then another one conclusion, if omega by omega c 2 power n which is very much greater than 1 means we'll have minus 20 n log of omega by omega c. This one. And next, let's see how to calculate the poles here to determine a poles of Butterworth filter. So in order to determine the poles of Butterworth filter, first we need to consider the magnitude response of a frequency response of a Butterworth filter. So this is HA of j omega magnitude square, which is equal to 1 divided by 1 plus omega by omega c whole power 2n. This one can be rewritten as HA of s into HA of minus s. Replace s omega by j into s. So if I replace omega by j into s, means we'll get j square means minus 1 s square divided by omega c square whole power n. So the poles can be calculated. See here, these are all the poles, right, which is equated to 0 means, so it becomes s square divided by omega c square whole power n, which is equal to minus 1. So this minus 1 we can rewritten as e power j 2k minus 1 into pi. So this n which goes this term, if I take 1 by root of n on both sides, we'll get this one. So it becomes, so see here, e power j 2k minus 1 into pi divided by n. How will get means, the minus 1 means if I vary the k value from 1 to n, always will get a value as a minus 1. How? E power j theta is nothing but cos theta minus j theta, or plus, if you have a plus means cos theta plus j sin theta. So cos theta means the value, if a k value is 1, for example, if k value is 1 means it becomes 2 minus 1 pi 1, is it correct? 1 by, take n values as 1 also, so it becomes minus 1, right? If I take n values 3 again, or so it always will have minus 1 for this, so hence we can rewritten this minus 1 as a e power j into 2k minus 1 into pi. Then next I should have, what are the roots for this, poles for this? So we have two roots here, right? So this becomes s square. I'll try to send omega c square towards right of the, sorry, RHS side. So it becomes minus omega c square into e power j 2k minus 1 into pi divided by n. So sk is nothing but this, these are all the poles, right? So poles we can represent as sk, which is equal to, if I try to find out the roots for this, we'll get plus or minus, and square root of minus 1 is j. So omega c square root is omega c. E power j 2k minus 1 into pi divided by 1 by 2 into n. So 1 by 2 I will get, we'll take a 1 square root, right? If I take a square root, it becomes 1 by 2. Then next, we'll always try to consider the positive roots. Why we'll consider positive roots means these poles will be present in left half of the plane. So these positive poles are present in left half of the plane, hence we always consider a positive one here. If I try to expand this one, it becomes cos 2k minus 1 pi divided by 2n plus j sin 2k minus 1 divided by 2n, right? So omega c, if I take j as a common factor, so j into j square, it becomes minus 1. So minus 1 will get here. If I try to multiply this j inside the bracket, we'll get minus 1 sin 2k minus 1 pi divided by 2n plus j cos 2k 1 into pi divided by 2n, where k again varies from 1 to n. It should not be varied from 0 to n. Try to know about it. So see here, where is the k value here? If I take k value as a 1, 1 means 1 minus, 2 minus 1 will get 2 minus 1 pi. If I take n value as a 1, it becomes pi by 2. So pi by 2 means sin pi by 2 value is minus 1. So minus omega c, it will be present in left of the plane. Take a k value as a 2 again. 2 minus 4 minus 1, 3 pi by 2. 2 means 3 pi by 2 means again 270. 270 value is again minus 1. So again the poles will be present in left of the plane. So hence we'll try to consider the positive roots of positive poles of this sk. And let's see how to find out a transfer function if I take n value as a 1 for this. So we know that how to find out a poles, right? So if I take n value as a 1, so we'll get omega c. If I take n value as a 1 here, k is 0, k is 1, then it becomes 1 means pi by 2 will get only omega c, this term becomes 0. So the pole will be written as s plus omega c, or we can rewritten as 1 divided by 1 plus s by omega c. So this is a transfer function when n which is equal to 1. So this shows that this is a first order transfer function. Then if I increase the n value again as a 2, 2 means we should have a 2 roots here. In this equation we should have a 2 roots. 2 roots means take k value as a 1 and 2 here. If I take k value as a 1 and 2, we'll get if I take k value as a 1 and n value as a 2, so we'll get pi by 4, here also pi by 4. The value of sin pi by 4 and cos pi by 4 is 1 by root 2. So we'll get minus 1 by root 2 plus or minus j 1 by root 2. Then it becomes h of s, which is equal to 1 divided by s by omega c plus 1 by root 2 plus j 1 by root 2 into s divided by omega c plus 1 by root 2 minus j omega 1 by minus j root by root 2. So why we are considering this transfer function? We can represent a transfer function as a divided by some continued product of summation k, which is equal to 1 to n s into s minus pk, right, where pk value is this one. So don't get confused. If I simplify this one, we'll get omega c square as a numerator term. If I take a LCM for this, so we'll get denominator term is s square plus root 2 omega c into s plus omega c square. So this can be expressed as a plus b into a minus b. Is this in the form? This term in the form. So this can be rewritten as a square minus b square, where a square is s square divided by omega square plus 1 by root 2 whole square. So s by omega c plus 1 by root 2 whole square minus j 1 by root 2 whole square. So if I simplify that one, we'll get this expression. Again, if I increase the n value as a 3, so we'll get 1 divided by s cube plus 2s square plus 2s plus 1. If omega c means cutoff frequency is not normalized, then it becomes omega c cube, s cube plus 2 omega c square, omega c into s square plus 2 omega c square into s plus omega c cube. Then next again, what I'll do, I'll try to increase this term again. So if I try to generalize this one, how we can rewrite this one? So complex conjugate term, we have that is s minus s1 into s minus s1 star. So it can be written as s plus sine 2k minus 1 pi divided by 2n whole square plus cos square 2k minus 1 into pi into 2n, pi by 2n. So if I simplify this one, we'll get one term as a sine square 2k minus 1 pi divided by 2n. This term becomes 1. So it can be rewritten as s square plus 2 sine 2k minus 1 pi divided by 2n is plus 1. So it can be rewritten as s square plus 2bk into s plus 1, where bk value is 2 into sine 2k minus 1 into pi divided by 2n. So h of n we can represent generalized form. So if n value is even, so the final transfer function can be rewritten as omega c power n divided by continued product summation k, which is equal to 1 to n by 2 s square plus bk into omega c into s plus omega c square. So next, if n value is 4 means it must be two terms must be present for this. Then next, if n value is odd, how to generalize this one? So omega c by n, which is divided by s plus omega c, that must be multiplied by continued product k, which is equal to 1 to n minus 1 by 2 s square plus bk into s omega c into s plus omega c square, where bk again 2 into sine 2k minus 1 into pi divided by 2n. So always if I have the odd number of n means we should have one extra pole here, real pole. These are our complex conjugate poles. And once we know the poles, in order to design the filter, we should have the information about the cutoff frequency and order of the filter. How to find out a cutoff frequency and order of the filter here? I already told we are trying to conclude the magnitude frequency response of a Butterworth filter should have 1 by root 2 value. If I take magnitude, simply a magnitude frequency. If I take magnitude square response means it must be a 1 by 2. Is it correct? So if I try to find out what is a response, stop band attenuation, so we can rewrite this one as 1 divided by 1 plus omega s divided by omega c whole power 2n, which is equal to delta s square. So again, what I need to do, I need to find out what is n value here. Is it correct? So similarly, we can rewrite as 1 divided by 1 plus omega p divided by omega c whole power 2n, that must be equal to delta p whole square. So if I take a ratio for both, that is delta s by, if I simplify this one, we'll get omega s by omega c whole power 2n, which is equal to delta s power minus 2 minus 1. If I try to find out a n for this, we'll get n which is greater than or equal to 1 by 2 log base n of into 1 by delta s square minus 1, which is divided by log base 10 omega s divided by omega c. See how we are trying to consider the passband frequency which is equal to a cutoff frequency. So if I have the term like this, what will happen, the n value, if I consider an integer, if I get an integer value approximately, for example if I get 6.7, I can round it off to the higher value as a 7. Means what it indicates, the passband frequency which is becoming less, means which is more near to the ideal frequency response. See here, we won't bother about a passband frequency, we won't bother about a stop band frequency here because the stop band frequency doesn't affect the ideal, affect passband frequency. Always try to, if passband frequency is less, means which is near to the ideal frequency, ideal low pass filter response. So this expression for when omega p which is equal to omega c. Suppose if omega p which is not equal to omega c, then what we need to do? We need to write an equation for both now. That is 1 divided by 1 plus omega p into omega c whole power 2n, which is equal to delta p whole square. In the previous case, we could have observed over there in place of delta p we have 1 by root 2. So but here we have delta p, right? So we can rewrite this one as 1 divided by 1 plus omega p divided by omega c whole power 2n, which is equal to delta p square. And another one is 1 divided by 1 plus omega s divided by omega c whole power 2n, which is equal to delta s square. So if I try to find out what is n value here, by considering a ratio of these two, omega c gets cancelled, the remaining one will be omega s by omega p whole power 2n, and here delta s square minus delta s power minus 2 minus 1 divided by delta p power minus 2 minus 1. So n, which is nothing but, take a log on both sides, we'll get 1 by 2 log base 10 delta s power minus 2 minus 1 divided by delta p minus 2 minus 1 divided by log base 10 omega s divided by omega p. This is an expression to find out the order of the Butterworth filter. And suppose if I want to find out what is omega c now, so omega c can be calculated by using any one of that expression. So that omega, and again what we need to do, we need to find out whether omega s value which is less than the given value, so that is represented by omega s dash. And see here, I already told this tolerance can be represented as a passband attenuation, this stop band tolerance can be stop band attenuation. In dB representation, if I want to represent in a dB, means we need to consider 20 log of delta p, that must be equal to minus Cp. So delta p which is equal to 10 power minus Cp divided by 20. So delta s which is equal to 10 power minus As divided by 20. If I replace that one in the expression, we will get same. Wherever we have delta p, try to replace it by 10 power minus Cp divided by 20, and wherever we have delta s, try to replace it by 10 power minus As divided by 20. The final expression is this one, that is n which is greater than or equal to 1 by 2 log of base 10 into 1 by delta s square minus 1 divided by delta p square minus 1. Both are same, don't get confused. Over there what we use delta s power minus 2, right? So instead of that we can also represent as 1 by delta s square also. So don't get confused. This is a n calculation expression for a Butterworth filter. This is, by using this you can find out what is omega c. So by using both the expression omega s plus omega p divided by 2, we can also find out what is the final cutoff frequency for the given system specifications. So if I use a Butterworth filter, means there are 4 specifications are important. One is passband frequency, another one is stop band frequency. This is passband frequency, stop band frequency, passband attenuation, stop band attenuation. These 4 specifications are important, and difference between these two, that is passband frequency and stop band frequency, give the transition band. you.